market, because the privatization is the changes of the ownership from state to the market, whereas the market could be, from the very beginning, the ownership could be in the private sector, whereas the privatization means that it is a shifting of the transfer of the ownership. So initially it has to be in the hands of the state or the public sector, then you just sell the state-owned enterprises to the private sector. Okay. And the good thing is that whether through privatization or because a firm, if a particular firm operates in a market system, then the shareholders will have a greater say, okay, because they have got the equal voting rights. So therefore, we say that these shareholders in a market mechanism can monitor the performance of the managers, whereas in the state-owned enterprises, the managers, they are not accountable to anybody, okay, because and their job is secure. It's a lifelong job, whether they earn profit or they incur loss, their job is not at risk. Whereas in the private sector, because of the pressure from the shareholders, the managers will have to perform better. And also, if there is a bad performance by the directors, okay, among the shareholders, the big ones are the directors. So these directors can be voted out by the shareholders in the annual general meeting, because all the listed companies, they will have to have an annual general meeting every year, and because of their performance, they can be voted out. So this shareholder can monitor their performance very closely. It's not only the managers, it is also the director, the owner directors also, they can also feel the pressure. And in that sense, in that case, if there is a bad performance, normally we see that the share price will fall, and when the share price falls, there is a possibility that the farm will be taken over by another farm, another bigger farm. There could be acquisition, there could be mergers. And when there is this sort of merger or acquisition by another farm, if it is acquired by another farm, then it is very likely that some of the managers will be losing their job. So therefore, the manager will try their best to prevent any sort of this merger or the takeover or to operate under new management, because it may put a risk on their future job opportunities or to continue in the same firm. And also in a private enterprise, you can have the profit-related bonus, which will act as an incentive to maximize the profit or to prevent the bad performance. Whereas in the private sector, because of this disguised unemployment, they can't really offer any bonus because they don't really earn huge profit. On the one hand, the final price is controlled, the price of the final goods are controlled, and on the other hand, there is a disguised unemployment, and therefore these public enterprises, they don't really earn any profit. That's why they can't really offer any bonus. So even if you're a very efficient manager in a state-owned enterprises, in the public sector enterprises, your efficiency will not be rewarded. And because of this lack of incentive, everyone is performing below their ability or below their efficiency level. Okay? And also, we know that in general, the management in the private hand will be more efficient. It's because there will be, on the one hand, there will be more competition, and on the other hand, even if there isn't enough competition, there could be the regulatory authority which will ensure that these private enterprises, they perform according to the expectation of the regulator, which is these regulators will not allow them to earn a supernormal profit by deviating from the marginal cost. Okay, let's say if you privatize like 20 years or 30 years ago, the British telecommunication was the only landline provider in this country. So once they privatized this British BT, then of course it became the private monopoly. Then they could have charged a high price. But then when they privatized these British telecommunication as well as the British Airways or something like that, then they had these regulatory authorities in place so that they can't really squeeze all the consumer surplus because they had huge market share of the market power. So there's a lack of competition when the BT was sort of a monopoly. But because of this existence of this watchful regulatory authority, they could not extract this supernormal profit. Okay? So sometimes it is because of the competition, and sometimes it is because of this regulatory authority. These private farms will have to become efficient, okay? Both allocatively and productively efficient. And also we know that in a market mechanism, if you can assign the property rights, okay, then you can solve the free rider problem. And if the property rights are well defined, then these private agents will bargain amongst themselves. Okay, so instead of controlling these, whether it is the forest resources or other public goods by the state, if you give the property rights to the private agents, then there will be bargaining, okay, amongst the agents. And we know that this sort of bargaining can lead to the Pareto optimal allocation, and also it will be efficient. And this is called the Cole's theorem. Okay? The Cole's theorem says that, well, let's say there are two agents. Someone is polluting the environment, or someone is discharging the waste into the river. Then the fisherman and the polluter, they will come into a contract. Okay? The fisherman will say that, okay, this is my livelihood. I will pay you to stop polluting the water, the river water, because then I can't catch the fishes if you pollute the water in the river. Okay? But the thing is that you just give property right. Or if you give the property right to the fisherman, then the fisherman will say, see, I have got the property right. If you want to pollute the water, then you have to give me, simply. Okay? If you give me enough money, then I will allow you to discharge the waste. So the industrialists will be able to discharge their waste into the river if they give some money to the fisherman. So it doesn't matter who gets the property right. So that's the whole idea behind the Coase theorem, that as long as it is well defined, as long as it is given to someone and you can enforce it, that yes, whether the polluters or the victims of the pollution or any externalities, as long as it is well defined and it can be enforced, then they will deal with each other, they will bargain with each other, and they will come up with the right amount of production of each of these goods, okay, which are the most efficient. Okay. So that's why the market can operate better. Right. Then we know that in real world it doesn't work like that. For example, like I said, the property rights, it's very easy to say that yes, give the property rights to the fishermen and they will deal with the polluters. But it's not that easy, because the market can also fail. Like with respect to the property right, it is not costless. Okay? It's not just as simple that the government is giving property right to person X and then X will deal with Y. But this dealing can be costly, okay? Because you can have like thousands of fishermen who can catch fish from the same river. Then if one industry is polluting the water, then that particular industry will have to have a contract with each of the fishermen, okay? And so it will be very costly, and each of these fishermen can have a different cost function and the visibility function from the pollution. So it is not costless in that sense. So the market may not perform as we expect, because this bargaining could be very expensive, and there could be legal barrier and so on. And also there could be other reasons. We know that the market can fail due to various reasons, because the price can fail to signal the true benefit because of the externalities. Okay? The many activities will have various externalities. So even if we talk about the goods market, even if we ignore the health and education, even if we talk about the commodity of the goods, many of the production of these goods and services can have these externalities, whether positive or negative, and that's why the market determined price, so the demand and supply, will ignore the social cost or social benefit. It will just depend on the price that will be determined will be based on the private benefit and the private cost. Whereas we expect the market should have a price which should be determined by the social cost and the social benefit, which is completely absent here. Okay? So it's basically this divergence between the social and private on the cost side as well as on the benefit side. This divergence can cause a market failure. And also we know that if the market is imperfect, then also the price may not reflect the marginal cost. For example, the private monopoly. Yes, we said the market is efficient. Market is allocatively efficient when the price is equal to the marginal cost. So this is the condition. When the price is equal to marginal cost, we call it allocative efficiency. That's what you have learned in your first year, or if you have done economics in your at your A levels. But that's not the always case. Yes, the price could be equal to the marginal cost, but that in some cases, but in most cases, the price is greater than marginal cost. Okay? The example is monopoly. It could be any other types of imperfect competition. It could be oligopoly, duopoly, or whatever. So the price can deviate or can be significantly higher than the marginal cost, and therefore this efficiency gain may not be attained in a market mechanism if there are any sort of imperfection due to various reasons. And also in the developing countries, we find that there could be incomplete market, or there could be missing market, or there could be future market, there could be absence of the future market. Okay? That the market does not exist in the first place. Okay? The idea of the what is called the structural adjustment program or the loan conditionalities of the World Bank and the IMF was they assume that there is a market. Okay, there. So they are telling the government that no, you take your hands off and let the market do the job. So the main assumption is there is a market already there. So if you withdraw your hand, the market will take care of it. But that assumption will be, if you violate that assumption, then there will not be any output produced in that market if there is a completely missing market, or there could be absence of the future market. So it could be like the missing markets in many developed, so therefore many developmental goods and services will not be produced at all because the market may not produce them. Okay? It could be a new product, it could be a better quality product, okay? It could be any product which is needed by the society or by the consumers, but the market may not have any incentive to produce those because the market may think that, okay, I will get more profit in doing something else. So those goods are needed for the consumers, whether the goods and services, but the market will not produce it because there could be completely a missing market for that. Okay? There could be certain types of scale, but maybe the market will not have any demand for that scale. Okay? So there is a missing market for that particular segment of the workers. So it could be for factors of production, for any input, or there could or any sort of goods and services. That could be a complete missing market. You don't get market for everything. For example, the foreign exchange, right? Those of you who are doing the international finance or international economics, you know that there are two rates, right? One is called the spot rate, one is called the future rate. All right? Okay, right? Now, in many developing countries, there is no future rate. There is only one thing: is the spot rate. Okay, because that future market isn't there. You cannot sell or buy the foreign currency in advance, okay? Because that market isn't there. Because it is true, so much of risk associated with this exchange rate in the developing countries. No one wants to borrow and lend money in the future market. So that market is completely absent. Okay, so.